Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Papermaker Stadium here in Kimberly, Wisconsin. I'm Brett Christopherson with USA Today Network Wisconsin. This is Ricardo Arguello, colleague, and welcome to our Varsity Game of the Week post-game show. And wow, what a Week 1 game here as Fond du Lac hangs on, I guess. Does that sound right? A walk-off 26-yard field goal. 31-28, the Cardinals top the Papermakers to snap Kimberly's historic 70-game winning streak. Ricardo, I mean, that's the story of the night. That's the story of the night in the state, not just in our area. But what are your thoughts on this one?
You could even extend that further into the nation because it's what's the nation's longest win streak. It's of interest to every high school around who wants to know who has won the most game. Well, now that team is no longer Kimberly, but Brett, the game unfolded exactly like we thought it would. Came down to the last drive to a clutch kick from the senior for Fond du Lac.
Jared Sherbel.
And I was talking to Coach Jorgensen about him, and he said, you know what, Ricardo, when I was during the summer, I noticed that he would be out there practicing kicking, really put a lot of time into improving himself. He said, that's why I made him a captain. It's rare when you see kickers that are captains, but he made him a captain. And look how it paid off. First game, he kicks the game-winning field goal. And by no means was that's a pressure kick. By no means is that an easy kick. It may seem that way just because of the yardage, but in this situation, with all the history there that Fond du Lac has lost, in the fourth quarter of so many games here, or against Kimberly, I should say, that was a pressure kick, and he came through with flying colors, and it was just an amazing game to watch. Fond du Lac finally get over that hump. Finally, Brett.
Well, that was a no-doubter, that kick, too. It had plenty of distance, plenty of leg, and watched right when he hit it, I looked right at the kicker in the line, and they started celebrating.
Right,
that thing was sailing deep into the night. So a heck of a job by the kicker, the captain, but also a heck of a drive because it was 28-28 at that time, and there was a big pass play. I got it down for 35 yards to Sauer, right? Evan Sauer caught the ball from Raditz and really set up the what proved to be the game winner, because at that point, Carson Raditz, I'm sorry, I was going to say Carson Raditz, but that had a feel to me, Ricardo, like this was going to go into overtime.
Right.
And then it's anybody's game because there was some strange things going on there in the fourth quarter too. Some interesting calls that we'd have to go back and watch the replay on that maybe benefited Kimberly to help set up the game tying score. But it just had a feel for overtime, and credit the quarterback and his running back to come up with a big pass play down the field.
It was amazing. It's always amazing to watch top teams play each other, but it's at another level when it comes to Fond du Lac and Kimberly. We know about Coach Jorgensen having the history here with Kimberly, and when I talked to him afterward, he was very humble. He was very appreciative of the fact that they were able to pull out a win in what he called the best team in the state, the best coaching staff, and he said it was a big win for them in that vein, and that the players, now it's he said the biggest game is the one after a big win. He says now they got to kind of build on this a little bit, but you saw when I was talking to some of the players, you could kind of tell the relief a little bit as they were celebrating there for Fond du Lac that we finally got them. We finally took them down. Our nemesis, let's be honest, they've been the nemesis. You could make a case that Fond du Lac was the second best team in state the last several years and able to knock off Kimberly.
Well, I said it during the webcast too, but Kimberly had won 11 straight in the series. The last time Fondy had beaten Kimberly was in 2005,
right.
So 13 years ago, and that was right here in Kimberly. And the Papermakers have ended Fond du Lac's season in the state quarterfinal round in 3 of the past 4 seasons. So you can see that little animosity maybe from the Fond du Lac folks. But I tell you what, I was very impressed with Raditz, the quarterback, not only with his arm. Don't throw a lot because they got that big offensive line or that experienced offensive line, but his feet, he can fly. Also impressed that he can play both sides, offense and defense. As I said during the game, you don't see a quarterback who you usually stick out there on the defensive side of the ball at linebacker, but he did a good job out there.
Yeah, they got a couple Iron Men over there in Fond du Lac. I talked to Andrew Stone at length as well afterwards, the great offensive and defensive lineman. I mean, this is a D1 level.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's playing both sides. The kid looked like he could have played another whole game. I mean, he was all sweaty and stuff, but it was amazing the conditioning these kids have to be able to play at that level at this Division I capacity. Incredible.
Evan Sauer, again, I talked about. He had some tough runs and the big catch. So congratulations to Fond du Lac, and now they're off and running, and maybe the team to beat right now in Division I.
Right. I mean, I think you have to view them that way. But look, Kimberly was a little bit of a work in motion, I guess. They're going to be a lot better come October than they are now, as Fond du Lac will be as well. But when I was talking with Coach Jones, he was he was like, look, it was a great game. We made some mistakes here, and but he didn't seem to be like a little bit. I didn't sense any kind of panic or worry.
No.
So like, look, we just got to go back and continue to get better. And that's what they're planning to do. And I told him about being better in October. He goes, well, I hope so. He goes, that's why we're coaches. We want to see that kind of growth and progression. So for Kimberly, I don't think you have to worry about anything. One thing that did stick out, though, he did mention that Fisher was their third string back. So now you're seeing their top two backs already out, in week one.
Boy,
how long will that last? But he's a good back. Don't get me wrong. He did a great job.
If he's their third string back, then they've got a nice thing going with
exactly,
their backfield.
But now depth becomes an issue there as well. And I thought Cody Starkle played pretty well. In his first stint as a starting quarterback there for Kimberly.
This reminds me a little bit of last year. Obviously, Kimberly won the game last year down at Fruth Field in Fond du Lac. It was a close game. But from the first half to the second half, if we shift gears and talk a little bit about Kimberly, I saw a lot of growth in that game within the game.
Right.
I thought I saw that tonight, too, because twice in the game, 14-0 Fond du Lac had a lead, and then 21-7. In both instances, it felt like Fond du Lac was in complete control. They could do whatever they want offensively with that big offensive line. And I thought you saw this team mature already within week one. So what are they going to be like come October when they're probably going to end up playing Fond du Lac again at some point?
I was going to say, this is just the win streak that's over. They're still the 5-time state champs. I'm sure, like you mentioned this earlier, Brett, I'm sure Coach Jones doesn't care about the win streak as long as they get the gold there at the end, and that's what they're all working toward in terms of progressing, improving to get that shot again at Camp Randall.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty good, and Fond du Lac's going to be really good, too, down the stretch.
They're
My only concern with Fond du Lac, I'm going to say this, is the kids playing both ways. That's asking a lot at the Division I level, especially with your quarterback. Injuries happen. Kids start to wear down. That's why it's nice to have the two-platoon system. Kimberly's been obviously has benefited from that, having so many numbers in the program. Don't have a whole lot of information as far as some of the other games. I'm just trying to look on my iPhone here. 27-13, Little Chute beats Freedom in the battle for the county ensign. So Little Chute scores 27 unanswered points in a game that had early NEC, Northeastern Conference, championship implications, because those are two of the better teams, along with Wrightstown and Luxembourg Casco this year.
And again, another game that you would have hoped would have been played a little later in the schedule, but unfortunately it was week one going against this behemoth of a game. So
yeah, I got Wausau West beating Appleton West 19-14. I believe Neenah beat Spash tonight.
Okay, big win for them.
Yeah,
that defense holding Spash to 6 points.
Yeah, I think Spash might be not like we've seen them, but we're going to see them in a few weeks when they take on Appleton North with absolutely demolished DC Everest. Carter Robinson off to a big start. Kaukauna all over Wisconsin Rapids tonight, 45-6.
Yeah, great passing offense.
I know some of our other games of note from Dan Cohn at St. Mary Springs, Wallop Marcassan. And then I didn't see anything on Winneconne Southern Door or Wapaka. Menasha, 33-7 over Wapaka
big
tonight.
Win for the Blue Jays. Okay, I was kind of wondering what that score was going to be. Wapaka trying to rebuild a little bit there.
Yeah, so we're going to see Menasha in a couple weeks as well. But as I closed in the webcast, next week we're gonna go to Amherst, and we're going to go from a Division I powerhouse matchup to a Division V powerhouse matchup. Amherst, 3 straight state championships. They got a little bit of Kimberly going, and then of course Bob Highland, the state's winningest football coach in history, leading the St. Mary Springs. That is going to be a fun game, and I encourage everybody to watch it because this is going to be small town. The whole town is going to be there at Amherst. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That is a good rivalry between those two teams.
Yes,
They've met several times in the last year in terms of like the first game. I know last year Springs actually knocked off Amherst, and Springs went on to win the Division VI state title. So I'm excited to see these two teams. They deserve the coverage, Brett. They're outstanding teams, like you said. Amherst has had a lot of success, as we all know about Springs, and Bob Highland, the state's winningest coach. So big game. I'm excited about what we got next week.
My only worry is we're not plugging in. We're using our Verizon card, but Rosie and I, we did a live stream check out there in July, and it seemed to work okay. So
we're excited. We're
fingers crossed. There's Rosie there. So, Rosie, I appreciate all you did to help us get this thing going tonight. And anything else?
Send a shout-out to Ryan McGinnis, again, for giving us outstanding facility to use here and space and everything that we need.
And folks can find your stuff where?
On postcrescent.com. I'm going to go back right now and write something up for online, and then there'll be extended coverage in Sunday's newspaper as well and online.
And don't forget FDLreporter.com as well. We'll have everything, including photojournalist Danny Damiani, his photo gallery. And you can watch a replay as well also on Facebook.com/postcrescent and Facebook.com/the FDL Reporter, I think it is. Otherwise, go to post.cr/games. And you can watch the replay of this classic game. So he's Ricardo. He's Rosie. I'm Brett. Good night from Kimberly.